Welcome in to First Things First. I'm Sarah Kustak, filling in for Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. This is Nick Wright. Good show.
Good to see you, Sarah. Thank you for stepping in today.
Musical chairs.
Right. Sarah was here the last couple of days, and now she's right there.
Yeah, no problem. She just dropped an assist from a different spot. I'll take it. I'm going to fill it up today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Good to know.
Good stuff on the way. There's a new favorite to land Kawhi Leonard next season. There is new hope that KD could be back in the finals. But we're going to start with the Lakers. A destructive article came out yesterday describing their dysfunction in detail. Among the accusations, Magic Johnson was described as a bully. GM Rob Pelinka doesn't always seem to tell the truth. And LeBron's agent, Rich Paul, was described as a culture killer, advocating for Luke Walton to be gone as early as November of last season. Nick, who is to blame for the Lakers' mess?
To me, this is relatively simple. There's a lot of blame to go around, but it should land primarily at the feet of one person, and it's one person who was not mentioned there, and that's Jeannie Buss. A very wise man named Cris Carter once told me years ago, with new information, I can develop new opinions.
Yeah.
And maybe at one point, Jeannie Buss thought a Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka with the Ramby operating in the shadows power structure was a good one. But the fact that she has gotten, and we have gotten, such overwhelming volumes of information that what's going on at Staples and with the Los Angeles Lakers is unlike anything else in the National Basketball Association. Do keep in mind, they are the only truly family-owned team left in the NBA, that to not adjust accordingly, it's one thing to say, well, the Warriors built a juggernaut with a former agent, Bob Myers, being the head of things. Why can't we build and Jerry West, by the way, kind of being a consigliere?
Yeah.
Why don't we mimic that model?
All these leagues are copycat leagues. If you get something that's successful, people try to duplicate it.
Why can't Magic be our Jerry and Pelinka be our Bob Myers? But to now have all this information and to not only not adjust, but the other option, if you're not going to adjust, is double down. Go hold a press conference, at the very least release a statement, and you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I get it, where you would either have to fire Pelinka or disavow Magic, but you got to do one of the two. You can't be still having Magic call you his sister, you publicly going out to dinner with him publicly recruiting on your team's behalf, while he napalms Rob Pelinka, while you still seemingly stand by Rob Pelinka. So to me, that was my biggest takeaway from this article. Was it wasn't a lot of new information aside from Pelinka making up the Heath Ledger Kobe story, which was bizarre. It was that the Lakers, the buck has to stop with someone. It used to stop with Dr. Buss. It was very clear that was the power structure. Now it seems to stop with Jeannie and her brain trust, and they do appear to be in over their head.
I would go to the ownership for blame, and I believe that Magic has to take some blame, because if Magic tells Jeannie Buss that he's going to walk away and they come up with some type of exit strategy, a solution, they can have a statement, release a statement, have a press conference, and also, as far as moving forward, what we're going to say and what we're not going to say. This is not the first time someone's left a company or a breakup and everything, but typically you get some type of agreement in writing, what I'm not going to reveal as far as me leaving the building. So if Magic, being the most famous Laker of all time, if he was smart, and I know Magic didn't plan to walk away and be doing all these TV gigs that require you to make a statement about the Lakers, because all these things keep coming out. So Magic being the public figure, they didn't have a strategy after that. So it's out of control. So Magic still thinks he's a huge part of the organization. But in the meantime, in trying to explain these things, he makes Pelinka look bad, who happens to be the highest ranking basketball person there. It's just hard to get respect in the industry. I know that people that are watching this, potential free agents, forget about just the business of the Lakers. This is their most important summer after LeBron James. They freed up all that cap space. It should easily be able to land someone. And now they're hoping to be able to land one of the free agents.
You talk about the power and the power of Rob Pelinka. Does any of this, in it coming to light, change the way in which, whether it's Jeannie Buss, whether it's the Lakers organization as a whole, approach how they move forward?
Well, I think it's too late now. I think the problem is we're damn near to June. The NBA Finals start tomorrow. The draft is June 20th. June 20th is the draft. The finals end on June 16th. The draft is June 20th. Free agency opens June 30th at 6 p.m. They had not a plan, but they had an alternative route when Magic walked away. And they didn't have to fire Rob that day. What they do in that moment, and this isn't a novel concept, is conduct a search for the opening, which was team president, bring someone in and let that person evaluate everyone there. Let that person evaluate Rob Pelinka. Let that person give a plan for the team moving forward. But now, I think you are just stuck. I think their plan moving forward is hope and pray the gravity of LeBron attracts a free agent. And then hope and pray that either the New Orleans Pelicans don't get the deals they think they can get for Anthony Davis, or the Washington Wizards don't get the deals they think they can get for Bradley Beal, and have this offseason be successful despite your own best efforts seemingly to undercut.
And I do believe there's some things as far as the report that were wrong or inaccurate. As far as Rich Paul and him being a culture killer, number one, for your culture to be killed, you have to have a culture. Okay, so they didn't have a culture. They were trying. They were close at Christmas. They were getting something going on, so they didn't really have a true culture. In the last 6 years, no one's lost more games than them. They're tied with the New York Knicks. That's how bad they've been. So some of these things, yes, accurate. Some of these things blown out of proportion. Rich Paul riding on the team plane. He's here in Brooklyn. Magic consented for him. That's not the first agent to ever ride on a team plane. Now, because he represents Anthony Davis, there you might have a conflict of interest because how the Anthony Davis thing got out of control. But I'm still worried about the Lakers landing a big-time free agent.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Rich Paul. There's two things I feel like the audience should know that maybe wasn't very obvious upon first reading, or maybe a lot of people didn't read it. They just heard people talking about it. In my mind, a lot of this story comes from disgruntled members of Luke Walton's coaching staff that are no longer with the Lakers. Because the one person who escapes any criticism in this story is Luke. And, I mean, Luke obviously we can argue about the job he did with the Lakers. He's facing some very serious off-court allegations. He fell into a great job or a great opportunity in Sacramento with a young team. And for no one, even anonymously, to kill Luke Walton in this story when everyone else is getting killed gives me an idea of where some of these anonymous sources are coming from. But the other anonymous sources, the other league executives, the other agents, you have to keep in mind, people didn't like Pelinka. Agents don't typically like each other. People are threatened by Rich. So there's two groups of people that really dislike Rich Paul. This isn't a defense of him. This is just reality. One is agents. It is written in the story. Other agents are afraid to have their clients sign with the Lakers because they think Rich might poach them. Because Clutch Sports has built itself into something very powerful, and those agents have some jealousy. They feel Rich skipped the line. Rich didn't have to do a lot of the grunt work these guys did to build up their clientele. He walked in with LeBron James. But the other one is league executives resent what LeBron and Rich have created in the era of player empowerment. So if there's resentment towards the Lakers for Lakers exceptionalism, for all the titles prior to these past 6 years, LeBron being there, Rich being there, Pelinka being there, which is to circle back, why it was important for someone to try to, put a dam up and stop all of these negative stories by saying this is what we're going to do in Los Angeles, because otherwise people are going to feast on the bones. Nobody will be happier than the rest of the league watching the Lakers piece by piece be ripped away. I think a lot of that were some of the genesis of this story.
All right, we got a lot more Lakers coming up in the show, but first, can Kawhi single-handedly take down the Warriors? That's next on First Things First, and you can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back. Moving on to Kawhi Leonard. He's in the midst of a dominant playoff run where he's averaging over 31 points per game. Clippers head coach Doc Rivers had high praise for the star, calling his recent play the most like Jordan that we've seen. He'll have to continue this run to take down the Warriors. Here's Steph Curry on facing Kawhi.
He's a scorer, and he plays at his own pace really well. You try to speed him up, try to show him bodies, or play him one-on-one, and he has confidence to be able to get to a spot. So it's one of those things where one-on-one defense, you got to take that challenge, whoever's guarding him, try to force him into tough shots. understand he's going to make some of them, don't get deflated, get the ball out, go right back at him. But over the course of 48, same thing we do with any great scorer that we play against. It usually is not one person that we're going to leave on an island, but just got to make it tough on them. Same way that they try to do to us, no matter who we play.
CC, how can the Warriors slow down Kawhi?
Well, as Steph said there, they're going to send a number of bodies at him. Kawhi is a very, very unique basketball player. He's not relying on the three-point shot. He's not relying on getting in the lane. He's not relying like DeMar DeRozan as far as just being an intermediate shooter. Man, he's the worst kind of basketball player. At all three levels, he is very good. Now, with his legs, which I believe he'll be healthier than he has been for a couple weeks, because Kawhi can play above the rim. He can be explosive. So his ability to be able to hit that three-point shot, to me, opens up everything else. His overall playmaking is at the best as far as his career, as far as his offensive skills. That was the last thing to be able to develop. So the Warriors have been a good defensive team, but they had no answer for LeBron James in these finals. They just were able to contain him. They're trying to keep LeBron under 40. For a goal for them is probably keep Kawhi under 35. I believe Kawhi will get 28 to 34 points every game. They're not going to be able to do anything. And if Durant was there, it would give them an extra layer because you could have guys on the ball and then have some rim protection at the end. Iguodala is not 100%. This worst series was the worst one for him of the other three. So I look for Kawhi to be dominant, but they will pass him off. They will get Steph in some pick and rolls, and Kawhi will attack him. I think one of the ways to attack Kawhi, and Steph said it, is he's going to make some shots. When we get the ball, whoever he's guarding is going to have to be aggressive and take something out of him on the defensive end, Nick.
I feel like I know what the Warriors will do against Kawhi. I just don't know when they're going to unveil it. And that is what they did to Lou Williams in Game 6, the critical game against the Clippers after Lou Will had crushed him in Game 5. It's what they did to James Harden in Games 5 and 6 after the Rockets even the series. And it's what they did to Damian Lillard the entirety of the Western Conference Finals. We are going to blitz you. We are going to send two people at you and force the ball out of your hands and trust Draymond Green to play center field, so to speak. When it becomes a 4-on-3, we will see if you will be a willing passer. We will see if other people can beat us. We are not going to, if you're the Warriors, let Kawhi Leonard dominate the game while having a 40-plus point game. It is the one guy they've gone up against the last few years that is the hardest to blitz, and they couldn't really do it, was LeBron, because he is such an exceptional passer and because of his size. But Harden's a very good passer. They blitzed him. Dame's a willing passer. They blitzed him. Kawhi, of those two, is probably the least apt, the least skilled passing-wise. Now, he's also not bringing the ball up the court like those guys are, so he's not, you can't blitz him right past half court the way they were those guys when they were trying to initiate the offense. But I imagine that is what they will do with Kawhi, but I don't think they'll start the series off doing that because it compromises potentially the rest of the defense. And if Danny Green actually hits shots this series, he would have open corner threes repeatedly if that is the strategy they take.
Yeah, I think it becomes very, very hard, Sarah, for a wing player. If you have a point guard, it's easy to set a trap for them because every NBA team, what's their number one offensive weapon? They run pick and roll. When you have a wing player who is off the ball, and also you have that corner shooter. That corner shooter, his defender cannot blitz someone when he gets the ball. So Kawhi, his playmaking is going to have to be at its all-time best compared to taking a bunch of hard contested shots.
Well, and to your point about being a wing player, I think we see often out of Kawhi something different than we do with some others, like a Steph Curry, for example, the quick bringing it up the floor, the early pass, and then getting it back to be able to create. With Kawhi, I think often you see him when the double team comes, he's always making the right decision, and he could pass so well out of double teams. It's going to be, I think, a lot of it up to Nick Nurse where they put him on the floor. Do you believe, though, and Nick, start with you, do you believe that these players like a Van Fleet or whether it's Danny Green, Marc Gasol. Do you think that they can perform as well as we have seen them throughout the course of these playoffs to be able to complement the numbers that Kawhi will put
Well,
up?
I don't think the moment's going to be too big for Marc Gasol. I know the NBA Finals aren't too big of a moment for Danny Green. Now, these entire playoffs, Danny Green, it wasn't just the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
After shooting a career best from three during the season, 45%, he's at 31% in the playoffs. He's got to break out of that slump. I don't think the moment will be too big. Fred VanVleet seemed like the missing man, and then he made 14 of his last 17 threes. I think that question is what's going to determine this series. Because I think no matter how they defend Kawhi, I don't think Kawhi is going to have a 14.5 of 22 night in these finals. I think Kawhi is going to produce repeatedly, and it's going to be about of course, the Raptors on the defensive side are going to have a lot of problems to deal with, but set that side of the ball to the side, so to speak. Can the other guys, when they have their open shots that are generated from the attention being put on Kawhi Leonard, can they knock down those open shots? And can Marc Gasol be a dangerous three-point shooter, which, if Boogie ends up playing, could play him off the court too?
Marc Gasol is a big key as far as Kawhi being able to take him away, because they have to be able to play big. You can't have Golden State force you to be able to play small. I believe Kawhi is going to be effective as a passer. You mentioned the guards coming off the bench. Norman Powell, VanVleet, those guys in the Eastern Conference Final, they average 20 points between the two of them. If they get 20 points between the two of them, that's going to make this into a series. Powell starting to shoot the three-pointer, which opened up the dribble drive for him. If they get those types of things going, because they're going to have open shots. In the Milwaukee series, they had open shots against the Warriors. Are going to have open shots. It's a matter of knocking those shots down. So those reserve players, they play a key role in opening up the Warriors defense against Kawhi. Because if they're not hitting shots, then they're just going to collapse on Kawhi.
And the other element, real quick, when you said the Raptors have to be able to play big, I do not think the Raptors will win a single game in this series that they don't win the rebounding margin. They have to crush Golden State on the glass. It is where they have their most obvious advantage, is their size, their length, and their ability to get not only offensive rebounds, but to finish the defensive possession by getting defensive rebounds. They have to dominate that category every game that they're going to have a real chance to win.
All right, speaking of size coming up, could Boogie Cousins be a major factor in the finals? That is next on First Things First. 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup kicks off in 9 days. All eyes will be on Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe, and the U.S. women's national team as the defending champions head to France looking to win a historic fourth World Cup. All the matches will be live here on Fox and FS1.
There's nothing like watching an international soccer tournament in New York City. And now we got the best team, because I've been taking on the chin watching the men play.
Right.
Now the women are coming. I'm talking much trash in every bar, Soho, Tribeca. I'm coming for you, people.
Watch out. Time now for us to go viral. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka, he's in the middle of a media frenzy, and to add fuel to the fire, a recent report says Pelinka made up a bizarre story about Kobe Bryant and the late Heath Ledger having dinner together. Take a listen to this.
Just a really quick story. There was one time when Kobe, who I worked with for 18 years, was going back to play Madison Square Garden, and he had just seen The Dark Knight. Obviously, you guys saw that movie. And he's like, hey, hook me up with dinner with Heath Ledger, because he got so locked into that role. I want to know how he mentally went there. And so he had dinner with Heath, and he talked about how he locks in for a role, and Kobe used some of that in his game against the Knicks in terms of mental preparation.
Okay, so the problem here is when The Dark Knight came out, a great movie with an all-time performance by Heath Ledger. Unfortunately, Heath Ledger had been dead for 6 months. So the idea that Kobe could have seen the movie and then had dinner with Heath Ledger, of course, is just impossible. And Rob Pelinka just lying for no reason. It's like, this is what I say to my kids. It's one thing to lie to get out of trouble. We've all done that. Some of us still do that. Like, I'll just tell a little white lie, try to get away with something. But to lie for no reason. Just to lie. Where'd you go today? Oh, I went to CVS. No, you actually went to the grocery store. Nah, the lie's funnier. I don't understand it. Why are you lying for no reason, Rob Pelinka?
Because you don't have no real stories to tell.
Oh.
Then just keep your mouth shut.
Oh,
right?
The Lakers, that was vast improvement. We hire you. Right now, you're running the Lakers.
And don't you think The Rock was sitting there like, wait, hold on.
I know. You're wondering what he's thinking.
Heath was Not
doing
only
some
had
math,
passed
hashtag.
away, but like it was a big story when
Yes.
Heath Ledger passed away.
First of all, we've brought Rock there for a reason. Let him do what he's supposed to do.
Right.
Rock can get the guys. He's got some stories and everything. He definitely can't get into, oh, yeah, I got into this character. Come on. The Lakers are a mess. The Lakers are a mess.
Here we go. Time for some stories to start your morning. Brought to you by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. KD has been ruled out of Game 1 of the Finals, but he did travel with the team to Toronto. CC, any chance we see KD in Game 2?
No, absolutely not. He hadn't returned. There's a procedure as far as once you're cleared by the doctors, then you start doing some movement, exercise, then you start getting on the court. He hasn't advanced from the training room. Like, you haven't heard an update as far, he stepped. No, he's not. I believe he's at least, it's 3 weeks today from the injury. They said the injury was a 4 to 6 week injury. So I believe he is not going to play at all.
Why do you think they had him travel? Because isn't that time that he could be spent rehabbing?
Well, the doctors and everything are with the team,
So he's traveling for that purpose.
Can you imagine Kevin Durant in the Bay Area 3 or 4 days unsupervised on Twitter and everything?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
on this.
shoot,
Okay.
man. That wouldn't be good.
All right, I can't yet rule him out for the series, but I would be shocked if he plays Game 2 in Toronto. I'm with you on that 100%.
All right, moving on. Klay Thompson has been a bit of an unsung hero for the Warriors this postseason. Steve Kerr called him the best two-way guard in the league. Nick, do you agree?
So this is very interesting. This is offense, defense, and he says guard. He doesn't say perimeter player because right now Kawhi has clearly asserted himself there, and Giannis as well, if you consider Giannis a perimeter player. I don't know who Klay would be competing with for this title. He's a better defensive player than Russ. He's a better defensive player than Harden. He's a better defensive player than his teammate Steph. Those are the guys that are
Bradley
better.
Beal?
Right. Beal to me would be the closest one to him.
He's a guard.
Right, absolutely. No, I'm saying Beal's the one whose defense of those guys is the closest to Klay's, but I think Klay's a better defensive player and a better offensive player than Bradley Beal, at least certainly a better shooter. So yeah, I do agree.
Got it right. He got it right by saying guard. He made sure he didn't say best two-way player, because then we have Kawhi, Giannis, and Paul George, all of them coming from the forward spot. So Coach is right. All right, Coach, you got this one right.
All right, moving on. Kyrie Irving, he's trying to figure out where he will be playing next season. According to a report, Kobe Bryant is recruiting the point guard to come to the Lakers. Nick, think Kobe can sway Kyrie?
Listen, I think this is important. And if this is true, this is a great move by Kobe Bryant and a nice solid he's doing for the only organization he ever played with. Kyrie always said Kobe was the player he looked up to. Kobe was his favorite player. I think he always, in the Kobe LeBron stuff, even though he played with LeBron, was always a Kobe guy, and his game mimics Kobe's much more than it mimics LeBron's. To me, this is going to be about who has more sway over Kyrie, Kobe and LeBron, or his dad, Drederick, because I think Drederick wants him in the Northeast, either with the Knicks or the Nets. Obviously, Kobe and LeBron want him out west with the Lakers.
I believe his financial people with his dad want him here. And I would believe that there's some reservations about going to the Knicks. I think that the team in New York City more likely to get him would be the Nets. But Kobe doing this, being involved with the Lakers, I mean, if you go ahead and hired Rob Pelinka, I'm just going to bring Kobe aboard in some capacity. Magic's gone. I don't even know if I can afford him. I don't know if he can gas up the helicopter to come into the city to be able to work. But Kobe Bryant, if they're not going to do anything else, have Kobe involved, because Kobe does have a certain amount of grit and work behind him.
And enormous cachet amongst players.
Yeah,
enormous cachet.
Finally, Kawhi Leonard has been tearing it up for Toronto, but he might not be playing for the Raptors for much longer. The Clippers, now the overwhelming favorites to sign him this summer. CC, what do you make of this?
Well, the Clippers were the favorite last season. If Kawhi could have picked a destination when he talked to Popovich and told him, I want to be out of here, I want to be on the West Coast, I want to be in L.A., him and Uncle Dennis had to make sure that people last year, when the word came out, that they made sure it wasn't just the Lakers. Because Kawhi, and talking to them at the time, he didn't care. He wasn't trying to team with any one person to develop a super team. The Clippers, they should be the favorite. He's a Southern California guy. With all the news going around with the Lakers, like, I would be shocked if they're able to overcome the huge deficit that they've created for themselves. And they started off with the deficit. It's like we're getting a staggered relay, and then the guy shooting the gun says, wait a second, I'm going to give you another 10-yard head start. So the Lakers are trailing the Clippers because the organizational structure, the ownership, how the team is made out, and how they played in the playoffs with Doc Rivers did not hurt their case, Nick.
And I'll add another thing that I think has helped the Clippers enormously. What Kawhi has done in Toronto this year without another star player. If there's a player in the league right now that can feel like, I don't need to team with anybody, it's that guy. I mean, who's his best teammate? Kyle Lowry? Pascal Siakam, who's more about potential than what he is right now?
And if Kawhi was talking to Nick, he's not going to say much, but that would come out somewhere in the conversation. He feels that way more, even before he went to Toronto.
So this is, to me, the key part. I know from talking to you and your relationships and talking to people that know Kawhi at least a little bit, he was quiet, but he was enormously confident about him versus any of the other best players. Look at my record versus KD.
Head to head.
Head to head. Look at my record versus LeBron. My record versus Steph. Even though on a lot of those circumstances, the other teams were more stacked. But it's one thing to have that confidence. It's another thing to then go in almost an incubator or a test situation and be able to test it out. Be able to go up against the Philadelphia 76ers, who had multiple All-Stars. Go up against the league MVP in Giannis. And now we'll see him go up against the Warriors. So as much as what he's done in Toronto has helped the Raptors' ability to keep him, it's also, I think, helped the Clippers' ability to be able to say, you don't have to have a superstar next to you. And, of course, a low-maintenance guy like Kawhi, the calm and the stability of the Clippers versus the daily mayhem of the Lakers has to be a huge draw.
Kawhi gave us an example. What's the difference between an all-star and a superstar? DeMar DeRozan, good player. Perennial all-star player. Took them to the conference finals a couple times. Took that franchise as far as he could get them. And it was an easy swap out. There wasn't a whole bunch of 4 or 5 guys. No. A couple guys here or there, but Kawhi is the main piece to that trade. And that's the difference, Toronto, with role players and one superstar now. And let's not forget, this league is getting ready to recorrect itself. If Kevin Durant decides to leave Golden State, how many All-Stars do you have to have now? You only got to have 2? If you have one superstar like Kawhi, I think in this run he's been on, it's proved out that, yes, would he fit into the Clippers? Absolutely.
And sometimes Vegas knows things. And I'm going to do a little cross-pop culture reference for a moment. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones people. But before this last season came out of nowhere, the kid Bran became an overwhelming favorite to basically win. And it's like, wait, what? It made no sense. But they knew. And he ended up winning. Out of nowhere yesterday, the Clippers went from 16-1 to win the title to 7-1 to win the title. They all of a sudden were minus 200 to get Kawhi Leonard. Sometimes Vegas knows some things, or some people that know some things, make some bets on some things that make Vegas know some things. Vegas thinks Kawhi's going to be a Clipper.
Yeah, and my source, which happens to be the streets, and the streets are talking, man.
Yeah.
The streets are talking, and they keep saying Clippers, Clippers, Clippers. And I think a lot of people, Sarah, in the world of basketball.
Oh, it's been consistent.
Think the Clippers.
Yeah. Let's talk about Demarcus Cousins. Now, he went down early in the postseason with a torn quad and is questionable for Game 1 of the finals. Boogie is still hoping to get on the floor to help bring home a title for Golden State. Cousins says, quote, "I'm not a quitter. It's going to take a lot for me to fail. It's going to take an Army and a Navy. I'm just going to go down fighting. I've been working my tail off to get to this point, but I am healthy enough." CC, how should the Warriors use Cousins if he's ready to go?
Well, this is the first thing. As an athlete, I respected Boogie. Boogie's never been to this level. Boogie came there to try to repair his image, fit in, took that small salary that they had available, thought he was playing. He said he's playing chess and the rest of the world was playing checkers, right? This was his chess move. Well, Boogie Cousins is not a role player. And I could just imagine the pressure that he has put on himself and the training staffs that he could get back to this level. So, yes, I respect that. But I'm watching this tape. He ain't ready to play in no NBA Finals, not with the intensity that I've seen the last 2 weeks. Man, shooting around with the backup role players and the guys that do the work behind the scenes. Oh, no, he's not ready for no championship basketball. And he's never been a role player. So I got to have a come-to-Jesus meeting with him first. Hey, bruh, Are you willing to play 8 to 10 minutes? I'm talking about I need your hair on fire, setting picks, getting rebounds. If you're not even going to get a shot, are you willing to do that? And if he's saying, yes, I'm willing to try to experience this championship atmosphere, I'm willing to sacrifice, then I would put him in the game. But I don't believe he's got the shape. I don't believe he's the mental wherewithal to be able to be in these situations because Boogie is an offensive player. You put him in an offensive set, man, you put him in a pick and roll, he is going to pop and he is going to shoot that basketball. So I just don't know if they can carve out a role. I'm always about having more bodies. But typically, when you get a Bogut, you get someone else to come off the bench, you tell them you got an assignment, and they are not going to deviate from that assignment. I don't know if Boogie Cousins is that guy.
And this is where, through no one's fault, it hurts them that when he came back, they treated him like the old Boogie Cousins. They didn't say, you're going to come
Treat
back.
him like an all-star.
Right. Listen, when you come back from the popped Achilles, you're going to start off coming off the bench, play 8 to 10 minutes. Then we're going to, no. He played 31 games for the Warriors if we take out the game where he got hurt a couple minutes in. He played at least 20 minutes in 27 of those games. 2 of the 4 that he didn't, they won by 40-plus points. Nobody played big minutes. In 26 of his 31 games, he took at least 10 shots. He's going to be out there. He's going to be shooting.
Yes.
Since his rookie season, Boogie Cousins played in 486 games. He has started 483 of them. He has no experience coming off the bench. He has no experience not shooting when he's open, not having the offense run through him. Even in Golden State, they were running sets through him.
Yes.
You don't get 10-plus shots. He was averaging like 11.5 shots a game in, relatively speaking, limited minutes. For a guy who is dealing emotionally with multiple injuries, and now a guy who had never played in the playoffs and then played a game and a quarter of the playoffs before getting hurt. Hey, NBA Finals, and you're a pending free agent, and we're going for a three-peat, and we're going to ask you to play a role you've never played in your basketball life. Man, that is a big roll of the dice. I understand why people would say in the abstract, can he be better for 8 minutes than Andrew Bogut? Well, sure, theoretically, on 2K he would be. You'd slot him in, but as an actual human being, it's a little bit tougher.
Is there an opportunity to experiment with this, though? Is there an opportunity when he's healthy to come back to say, okay, we're going to put you in the start of the second quarter, start of the fourth quarter, maybe run some things through you, 3-4 minute stretch. You can be on the floor with Clay, create some offense, see what happens? Or do you think this is a scenario at a stage that this is not the time that you want to mess up the chemistry that Golden State has now created?
Well, this is what I worry about. Are you taking Toronto serious in the NBA Finals experiment? Because we know Kevon Looney, we know exactly what he is going to do. Because in those assignments, because I'm giving Bogut the same assignment, I'm giving Boogie Cousins. Who do I think can play out that to the T? Who's going to stay on task? And I think the other guys are more apt to do it. I would love to be able to sit here and say Boogie. I would love to have Boogie get some experience. This is a big summer for Boogie. Like, he's had a couple bad breaks. Like, I'm pulling for him. But I can't be experimenting. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to three-peat.
And Boogie is, I don't think he's all of a sudden a guy who is just going to be emotionally zen. Right. And what have we seen from the Warriors since KD went down? You're playing 11 guys by the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. You're playing, everyone's getting run.
Yep.
And Boogie is going, so Boogie, is he going to be okay with being the 9th guy? Being the guy that does get in, but it's for 2.5 minutes? Because Jordan Bell's happy with that role. Damian Lee got a start. He's like, you got to be kidding me. I get to play. He did the opening tip, played 2 minutes, never went back in. He was still thrilled to play. That's a different role for this guy.
And another thing is, too, yesterday they announced the 12 referees that are going to be officiating the finals. And the first 2 rounds of the finals, man, we had the referees and players going at it like we had the last couple years, cats and dogs. In the finals, Eastern and Western, no problems. Not a bunch of technicals and everything.
Only one technical, the whole thing.
All that has worked itself out. Boogie Cousins can bring the referees back into this, and I don't want him to ignite Draymond. Because what we've seen from Draymond, man, the strides he made, talking about, oh, man, my kids are watching. Like, I can't be out of people like that. Everyone, like, I got to keep my team in the game. Boogie Cousins could ignite that fire now. And that's not something I'm sure that Golden State wants to see.
Not at all. Interesting to see. All right, coming up, will the dysfunction around the Lakers keep them from landing a marquee free agent? That's next on First Things First. Welcome back to the show. FS1 NBA analyst and NBA champ Antoine Walker joins the show in Chicago, native. With a little Chicago love here.
Yeah, of course. You know, you're from Chi-Town. It's the best time to be here, Nick. Finals, baby.
Absolutely.
And, bro, I got to give you credit now. You were so right about Bledsoe. Nick was like, man, they're going to win the championships. Hey, man, that point guard, man, I'm just telling you, I like him, but I don't know. Good.
Yeah, I had to buzz with, Bledsoe let me down, man. That's when you get somebody $70 million at All-Star break.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely right.
Makes sense.
Lose a little focus after that.
Makes sense. Before we get to some finals talk, let's talk Lakers. A destructive article came out yesterday describing the dysfunction in detail. Among the accusations, Magic Johnson was described as a bully. GM Rob Pelinka doesn't always seem to tell the truth, and LeBron's agent Rich Paul was described as a culture killer, advocating for Luke Walton to be gone as early as November of last season. Antoine, do you think LeBron regrets signing there?
I think he has to regret it a little bit because obviously he dealt with Magic when he came in, and him and Magic had a plan in place. It was not Rob Pelinka. It was not Jenny Buss at his house. It was Magic there talking to him. And then obviously when you look at how he left the game, I mean, it really has got to be disheartening for LeBron because not to be told, hey, look, I'm stepping down, some other things going on, but, you know, I'm going to be here to support you. Not to give him any type of reinsurance after you get LeBron James, the best player in the world, to come play with you. Obviously, you feel bad about LeBron because you don't know what direction. And all you got to do is look for the coaching search. The coaching search tells you everything that why LeBron James should be mad. Obviously, Ty Lue is his guy. You don't want to bring him in. You bring in Frank Vogel. Then you bring in Jason Kidd to be his assistant. So it's just a lot of chaos. So if I'm LeBron, I'm starting to regret and don't know which direction the team is going in. And hopefully they can try to salvage this thing a little bit in free agency. But, I mean, it's a lot of question marks because you don't know what free agent would want to play with this big drama going on right now.
Well, it's going to come down to me, what happens over the next 60 days about free agency, over the next 45 days, really. Whether or not from a basketball perspective, LeBron's going to spend the last years of his career competing for championships or competing for individual records. Like, because that's what it is. Like, if he showed you last year, he'd still be 27, 8, and 9 in the 55 games he played. But if they strike out in free agency and the trade market, Anthony Davis, Bradley Beal, acquiring another all-star caliber player, then what LeBron's got to go for is wants to break the all-time record in scoring, the most All-NBA teams of anybody ever. He tied that record this year with his third-team appearance. Like, those types of things. And that is not what LeBron signed up for. Now, does he regret it? Because I believe the decision to go to the Lakers was not just about basketball. And people think it's about Space Jam and the movies. Part of it's about his business, but the primary factor that wasn't basketball was his family. It's where his wife and kids wanted to be if they weren't going to be in Akron. So I think if he had to do it all over again, he would still sign with the Lakers. And I think that is because he believes they are not going to strike out in free agency because of the gravity that he has on certain players in this league. But what will determine whether or not this Lakers decision was on the court a disastrous one is what they do in these next 45 days. And the only thing the Lakers have going for them these next 45 days, two things. One, they got lucky in the lottery, which should help them in the trade market, and they have LeBron James. Everything else has been working against them getting a star player.
There is no way LeBron James, wherever he is sitting today, is comfortable with the situation. Now, everyone's got a family. Most people have a wife. Most people have kids. But the opportunity that LeBron James had in the era where he has dominated basketball, and now, because of the dysfunction of the Lakers, the Golden State and the Kevin Durant's, they pulling away from LeBron. So let me tell you what LeBron doesn't want. Forget the Lakers. He don't want Steph to get 5 titles. He don't want KD to end up getting 4. Because for his overall legacy, and my man over here, he's the greatest player ever, you can play for all them numbers you want to. But in the NBA, they have always kept who's the best players by championships. And you can't be saying you the best player in the world and you got guys in your sweet spot, in your prime, and they are taking championships and they are collecting rings. So his legacy is at stake. And you can't tell me he's not regretting. He could have stayed in Cleveland not to trust somebody. He didn't trust Dan Gilbert. He didn't trust him. He could have stayed there at the crib. He'll always be from Ohio. You can always buy a house in L.A., man. I can always get my family out to L.A. So us sitting here today saying LeBron wouldn't have some regrets, It's Memorial Day. He's having a cookout, man, with the other. You think that was fun?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But I think there's, just real quick, don't you think there's a difference between disappointed in what has happened and wish you had made a different decision? That's the distinction I'm drawing. Of course, this year, everything that's happened here has been, he got hurt. They missed the playoffs. The coaching search was a disaster. Those things, no one denies.
LeBron could have signed a 2-year deal with Cleveland. All right? Stayed in Cleveland. You can always move to L.A. We act like he had to move to L.A. right now. And now when you're sitting out of the playoffs, Magic Johnson is on television talking about the organization. Your coach that you wanted, Ty Lue, they wouldn't even give him, he couldn't even control his own staff. So Anthony Davis is no guarantee. Now with the Knicks having a pick and other people wanting him, KD potentially going to New York, Kawhi potentially not even interested in your conversation. Those are gut-wrenching things to come to grips with.
I think, and then also you got to look at from the big picture is that LeBron James really right now don't have anybody on the team. He kind of lost those young guys. So by him losing those young guys, he got to get them back together, get them back in the gym, get them back focused, because you don't know what free agency is going. This might be your teammates. You may have to be with Ball and Ingram and Kuzma, so you got to reestablish that too. So all that plays a part too. And this is his first time watching. I mean, this guy's been in the playoffs 13 years, 8 times in the finals. Believe me, he's regretting it right now a little bit. He wants to be out there. This is the best time of year.
But, Antoine, with that being said, there's nothing he can do now about the front office, the coaching staff, any of that. But with free agency, as a player, how do you think LeBron should approach what his role is and how he should go about or what he should do in terms of recruiting other free agents and who will be on his roster along with him?
I think he should be very active in who they go after. I think he should give a wish list of guys he would like to play with, and maybe that's a sheet of paper. If they need him to sit in the room, he should sit in the room, make the phone call on July 1st to some guys to see if they want to come play, talk to them about what he's trying to do and where he's trying to get to. I think he has to be active with this group. Frank Vogel, I went to school with Frank. I like Frank. I thought he's done a terrific job as a coach, but I don't know how many free agents he's going to influence to come to L.A., and that's not a knock on him. Mm-hmm. Jason Kidd may have a better a grip of that and more, because he's played with a lot of these players or had a different relationship with them, so he may be able to convince them. But you got to ask LeBron James to be on that couch, be in that office with you as you recruit guys.
That is the determining factor. If you now, the best choice would have been no dysfunction and get the free agent, and Magic doesn't, I'm not going to be here anymore. But that's out the window now. I would believe if LeBron had the choice between these two options, the Lakers are a perfectly run organization, none of these headlines, Ty Lue is hired as the head coach, and they don't get an all-star, or all this mayhem. And Frank Vogel's the coach. Ty Lue gets insulted. Linda Rambis is the shadow owner. But Kyrie comes and signs. I think that is the more preferable option. Now, the worst of them all is you deal with all this mayhem, and Nikola Vucevic is the best you can do this summer. Then it's a disaster. Then, to me, you start talking about real regret about how the twilight of his career is going to go.
Our NBA champ, we're going to actually get to the finals talk coming up. Stick around. Can Kawhi single-handedly take down the Warriors? That's next on First Things First. Back here with Antoine Walker, and we are going viral. The Warriors and Raptors are getting ready for the finals, but the rest of the league is already working on their summer plans. Jimmy Butler has turned his attention to the next generation of stars. Take a look.
All right, my Gracie said she wanted to start playing basketball, so I got her a coach. Gracie, who's your basketball coach?
Jimmy.
The best coach ever. Jimmy Butler coaching little Gracie? Oh, God. WNBA, here we come.
Jimmy Butler and Mark Wahlberg are longtime, really close friends, evidently, from what I've read. I didn't know Jimmy Butler was in the coaching business. That's really cool.
No, I think he was in Chicago, Mark Wahlberg. He met him in Chicago, and they became good friends. I think he was filming a movie or something in Chicago, and Jimmy Butler went on set, and they became good friends.
That's nice. Jimmy Butler really trying to repair his image and everything, working with kids and everything. He's messed up a couple locker rooms.
Did you see the background there, see? It looked like it was your old neck of the woods. I think that was up in the Hollywood Hills where you briefly laid your head.
Hey, man, I did notice that, but don't be giving away where I like to hang out, Nick.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to have people coming to your house in Harlem.
Well, I mean, you talk about where I go out in Harlem.
121st Street. That's where it's at.
Back to Kawhi
Sitting
Leonard.
on the corner with a black and mild. Holla, holla.
Leonard's in the midst of a dominant playoff run where he's averaging over 31 points per game. Clippers head coach Doc Rivers had high praise for the star, calling Kawhi's recent play the most like Jordan that we've seen. He'll have to continue this run to take down the Warriors. Here's Steph Curry on facing Kawhi.
He's a scorer, and he plays at his own pace really well. You try to speed him up, try to show him bodies, or playing one-on-one, and he has confidence to be able to get to a spot. So it's one of those things where one-on-one defense, you got to take that challenge, whoever's guarding him, try to force him into tough shots, understand he's going to make some of them, don't get deflated, get the ball out, go right back at him. But over the course of 48, same thing we do with any great scorer that we play against. It usually is not one person that we're going to leave on an island, but just got to make it tough on them. Same way that they try to do to us, no matter who we play.
All right, Antoine, how can the Warriors slow down Kawhi?
They have to have the same approach that they had when they guarded Damian Lillard last series, where they trapped him in a pick and roll, kind of showed him a double team, and make Kawhi become a willing passer, which he is now in his career. He's definitely a willing passer. But you got to get the ball in his hands as much as possible and not allow him to get one-on-one opportunities every time down the floor. You got to show him different coverages, and then you got to hit him with multiple guys. I think, obviously, this is what it hurts not having Kevin Durant, because now you got another guy who's 7 feet with quick feet that can probably guard him and challenge at the rim. But you got Andre Iguodala, who's used to guarding guys like this with their skill level, this type of skill level. He'll be able to do a pretty good job on them. Then you got to figure out who's going to be that next guy. Is it going to be Klay Thompson? Are you willing to take that chance of getting in foul trouble? Jordan Bell, do you trust the young guy Jordan Bell to guard him? Alfonso McKinney, this is his first time in the finals. So do you trust those young guys to come in and give minutes at that spot with Kawhi Leonard, which is a guy who can get you 35, 40 points in any given moment? He's shown that, obviously, throughout the playoffs. So you got to double him, limit his touches, make him a willing passer. I don't think you're going to just shut him down, but you have to take the ball in his hands as much as possible.
Well, we have seen the Warriors, and they've played against some other stars. Nick, you mentioned it. You mentioned Damian Lillard, what they did against him. Other stars that they faced, James Harden, when they faced him. The biggest problem is that these guys ignited the offense. Let me tell you, when Houston had something, and the reason why Chris Paul was upset was when they put Harden off the ball and they had to play him honest, and Chris Paul was orchestrating the offense, they couldn't trap him. They couldn't do that because they were concerned about Harden. So when you take the ball out of the point, or your primary scorer is not the point guard, it presents a number of problems defensively. So they would have to play uncharacteristically, undisciplined, if they start double-teaming Kawhi and he's in the post and he's on the wing. I think that they're going to force Kawhi to pass the basketball as much as possible, but try to stay within their integrity. When they guarded LeBron, they couldn't take the ball out of LeBron's hands because he moved around so much. He didn't handle the ball as much as he's done with the Lakers. So it made it hard to impossible. That's why it became, let's just contain him. Let's be physical with him. I believe the problem for Kawhi is foul trouble. Iguodala and Klay, if they get into any type of foul trouble, they don't have an answer. I don't believe Draymond can guard him for 20 minutes. I believe that Draymond's lack of moving side to side, and Draymond would definitely get in foul trouble. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Warriors will do. This is the worst defensive Warriors team we've seen in this 5-year run, though.
And if they are going to, because I think they will do exactly what you're talking about a fair amount, particularly if Kawhi is the one bringing the ball up the court, which he has been doing at times, Draymond won't be a part of that because Draymond's the key to the 3-man defense they would be running. If they send 2 at him, Draymond's got to kind of play center field. But no matter what defense the Warriors throw at Kawhi, I want the audience to understand the type of problem that's on their hands. 28, 8, and 5 on 53% from the field, 46% from 3. That's Kawhi Leonard the last time he was in the playoffs. This isn't a one-year wonder here. That's Kawhi Leonard, what he was doing until Zaza maimed him by putting his foot under his ankle. Like, so this year's 31-9-4 on slightly actually worse percentages. Like, Kawhi was building the resume of all-around playoff killer up until midway through the third quarter of the Western Conference Finals that the Spurs had a huge lead on before he got hurt. And then he didn't play the rest of that series, basically didn't play at all last year, and then he picked up this year exactly where he left off. He had a really interesting quote during the season that I had forgotten, but Kevin O'Connor mentioned on his podcast yesterday, which was, regular season games, he said, are my practices to get ready for the postseason. And Kyrie had similar commentary. And then the postseason came, and he fell flat. Kawhi said that, and he has proven himself right. The load management, the working on the weaknesses in his game throughout the regular season, so he is peaking at the exact right moment, which is to say, no matter what defense they play, if they try to play him straight up, if they blitz him, if they do a little bit of both, if they have a rotation of guys on him, no matter what defense you throw at him, Kawhi is going to hurt you. The question is to what degree, and when you do force the ball out of his hands, who else can make shots, or are those guys going to miss the open shots he generates?
With all that being said, Antoine, let's go back to what Doc Rivers mentioned, that this is the most like MJ that we've seen. What have you seen out of Kawhi in a comparison like that one that Doc made?
He's got some Michael in him because he can score. He has a good mid-range game. I think Michael, probably because Kawhi's hurt, plays above the rim a little bit better than Kawhi does as far as attacking the rim. But Kawhi lost a little bit of that with his injury. But basketball-wise, yeah, because he plays both ends of the floor. Michael will guard the best player, do things defensively. And the way Kawhi does it, he knows his spots. He picks his spots. He knows where he wants to go on the offensive end. And if you watch most guys that play in this league now, especially the superstars, they don't really necessarily have those type of games like Kawhi. Kawhi kind of separates himself. I mean, LeBron has a game, to me, I think, obviously James Harden, that style. But every night, Kawhi, he can get you mid-range, he gets to the free throw line 10 times. And he's added the three-point shot to get over 40%. So now he becomes really, really dangerous. And he does have some Michael in him. You don't think about it, maybe because the braids. You know what I'm saying? You really don't. You may not think about it, but he does in a lot of different areas because he's one of the best two-way players, if not the best two-way player.
Right. In the two-way, he mirrors Michael in a lot of ways. On the defensive end, you don't see a lot of players that just take the ball away from the opposition. That's what MJ was able to do on a regular basis. That's what Kawhi is able to do. As far as the mid-range game, that's the part that Doc is talking about. Because MJ, and another move that he is, the multiple between the legs. That was MJ, too. We've seen Kawhi yo-yo it a few times. Let me do it again. That was MJ. And then I'm going to pull up from 15, 12, get to a certain spot, a lot like the legendary Bernard King did. So I could see the similarities there. Most NBA players aren't built that way, but this has evolved. And Kawhi, man, he started 3 feet away from the bucket. He talks about San Antonio, how they taught him how to shoot the ball, how to shoot his free throws, and eventually get him through the three-point line. So the evolution, all these young players out there, Ben Simmons, more talent than Kawhi Leonard will ever have. He started off like that. That's the way you develop to become a complete player, and that's what we're witnessing in these.
It's so funny you mentioned Bernard King because that's people go to Michael Jordan, but the Bernard King, which is there's 13 spots on the floor that I want to get to. I will get there, and I will only shoot from those spots. Kawhi's got his spot on the baseline, the corner three, and then the shorter shot, which is the shot he hit to win Game 7. He obviously has the wings, the top of the key. But I want people to understand Doc Rivers, because I think people hear, oh, now he's Michael Jordan. He's not saying he's the best player since Michael Jordan. He's saying stylistically he's similar to him. Kobe obviously mirrored his entire game after MJ's, but MJ took much smarter shots than Kobe and did it at a much higher efficiency. Kawhi's efficiency this postseason, the last postseason he played in, has been really, really good. And there are some elements where just to your eye you could see Michael going to those same spots, taking those same shots. It's not saying the players are comparable. It's stylistically what they're doing. And in this playoff run, he is playing at a near Jordan-esque level on both ends.
All right, Antoine, we're going to see you a little bit later in the show, but coming up, could the Raiders be adding too many big personalities? That's next. And first things first.
Is big personalities a euphemism for bad guys?
I don't know. Saturday on Fox, Baseball's biggest rivalry heats up as the Yankees host the Red Sox. It all starts at 7 Eastern. Check local listings for the game in your area. We'll get to the Raiders in a second, but first, Baker Mayfield hits Rashard Higgins. A nice pass at practice. Keeps both feet in.
We don't get much video of practicing, so the OTAs, see how you can get hurt because they are going live, especially wide receivers and DBs. Higgins is one of the guys that could be the third or fourth guy there in Cleveland for Baker Mayfield.
He and Antonio Callaway going to be battling it out for that.
I believe they're going to have one of the best offenses, Nick, in the NFL. It's not hype, Colin Cowherd. You got that?
Take that, Colin.
Yeah.
Nationals Braves, Trey Turner. Superb diving stop up the middle. Nice throw for the out.
By the way, speaking to Colin, I'll be on with him at 12:30 Eastern today.
good
This is a
one.
great play by Trey Turner. Look at this stab. That's the position I wanted to play.
Yeah,
second
right.
base.
Okay. I'm more worried about the pitcher. The pitcher got bad fundamentals. That's why he almost got hit.
Speaking of
Worried
bad
about this
fundamentals.
pitcher.
Oh!
Photographer almost got taken out by the first pitch at the Royals White Sox game.
A little rivalry. This is Sarah's White Sox against my Royals. Not a lot
Well,
of people showed up for this
you
rain-out
win.
makeup game.
Now, this is a situation where she was the employee of the month and was awarded the chance to throw out the first pitch. Now, Sarah, do you take that away from her? Because she's not a good...
She's an internet sensation. We're talking about the White Sox on First Things First. Would we be doing that otherwise?
Nails the
I don't think
She
we
should
talked
be
about the
employee
White
of
Sox
the
since
year.
Obama.
might be right.
True, see?
You
So,
might be
yeah.
right.
Moving on to the Oakland Raiders. They signed Richie Incognito yesterday in an attempt to bolster the offensive line. When asked about Incognito's troubled past, GM Mike Mayock said, quote, you can't have all Boy Scouts. CC, what's your reaction to the signing?
Well, first of all, Mike Mayock, you need to get that Boy Scouts thing correct, too, because the Boy Scouts was tough. I tried to join the Boy Scouts. I lasted about 30 days. They went on a camping trip. That camping is overrated, okay? So don't be trying to act like, Boy Scouts is being a bad thing. That's the only thing I haven't done. Yeah, I couldn't. I was not successful. Yes, but this is the truth about an NFL team. And I've been under the same theory for almost 30 years, over 30 years. I read it in Bill Walsh's book. Bill Walsh, the great orchestrator, San Francisco, West Coast offense, and a great orchestrator as far as human beings, put human beings in a spot to be able to win. He said you can have 5 bad guys on a 53-man roster. So when you go up and down, because you're right, you're going to have some guys with some shaky past. This is not your normal work environment where you look at your resume and be like, wow, man, I've been going to private schools and everything. I've been one of the top as far as in my class and everything. How all the rest of these people get here? Well, they got skill too. And some of them happen to be beating up people and doing other types of things. So I'm not shocked by any NFL team, the things that they would do if they think you can help them. But I'm concerned is because I like the Raiders when they were tough. I played against the Raiders when they were tough. But right now, because I don't believe their coach is tough. Because people say, you put together your roster, the people take on the characteristics of their coach. Now, the coach acts tough. He acts like he's a disciplinarian, but I don't think he's a disciplinarian. So to me, until I see that type of personality, so I believe there is going to be a problem. You can only have so many people on your team that they're selfish and they are consumed by everything that's going on in their world, and they're not going to sacrifice everything for the team. You can only have so many volatile people in the locker room. You can only have so many guys that are going to get questionable penalties game after game. And also, you can only have so many guys because Richie Incognito, I can guarantee you in training camp, is going. Who's their linebacker they signed this offseason, Nick?
Vontez Perfect.
Oh, I can believe they're definitely going to be fighting in training camp.
They now have the 2 worst guys in football.
So now, as I try to put this team together, because one thing young players don't realize, when you come to training camp, you're not on the team. We're not teammates. We're on the opposite side because I'm trying to win a spot. So in trying to win a spot, you know what I got to do? I got to bloody this guy's nose. And you can believe it's hard to put together everything that they have in all the chaos in training camp and believe that, oh, this is a championship caliber. So don't forget the opposition. Denver, Kansas City, and the Chargers. So for me, this is not the group that I would put together to beat them.
Well, listen, You mentioned 5 guys. I didn't know Bill Walsh had written that, but it's smart, and it's in line with something that I believe for a long time, which is 53-man locker room. You're going to have about a half dozen guys that are Bible study, home every night as soon as practice is over.
Yep.
About a half dozen guys that are not necessarily going to Bible study, and they're going somewhere else right after practice is over. And then you've got guys in the middle, a lot of whom are young guys, a lot of whom are finding out who they're going to be as professionals. And if you have a team that's got 10 to 12 guys in the Bible study, then all of a sudden more of those, that 10 to 12 becomes 14 to 16, becomes 16 to 18, because that becomes the powerful group of the locker room. But the other thing works the same way. It's what happened in Cincinnati in the early 2000s. You had too many above the threshold of edge guys, and then guys that maybe wouldn't have been edge guys were like, well, that seems fun. That seems to be the popular clique, and now you've got 12 to 14. Now you've got 14 to 16 edge guys. But if we were listing on NFL rosters, 50 guys times 32 teams, about 1,600 guys, the 2 guys with the absolute shakiest rap sheets, the Raiders might have gone out of their way this offseason to employ them both. Vontaze Burfict is a menace, is dangerous, and it could really, really hurt someone on the football field.
Almost ended Antonio Brown's career.
And could have ended his life. I mean, he has, and has been that way since college. Richie Incognito got thrown out of Nebraska, essentially. He left after being suspended indefinitely, then got thrown out of Oregon. And we know who he is. We know he uses racial slurs against teammates, against trainers, against opponents. We know that he has had real bouts with what I would consider psychiatric issues and what he has considered psychiatric issues.
Yes.
Up to and including in the last year. I mean, here's the latest thing on his rap sheet. Arrested for threatening to shoot employees at a funeral home while making arrangements for his father. He had 2 handguns, 3 rifles, and a suppressor. That's a silencer. Employees said Incognito wanted to, quote, cut his father's head off for research purposes and then walk through the funeral home punching caskets and throwing things. There's edge guys and there's maniacs. And the idea that John Gruden would lean into this, like, we already think the Raiders might have a little dysfunction. Well, let me sign Richie Incognito, who didn't even play football last year. It's not, he at one point was a really good player. It's going to be year 15, and he was out of football last year. You don't need him. You don't have to have him.
And it's on the backdrop of who went out the door. Amari Cooper. I know Amari Cooper. I know his mom. He's from the tough streets of Miami. When he was deciding he can go to any college in the country, he said, Coach, I want to go to Alabama because I know what's best for my family. I know I got to go away from Miami to get away from so I can learn about life, and Nick Saban's the best teacher. He is a great human being. Khalil Mack, another great human being, a guy who made himself. He didn't have a whole bunch of Division I offers, made himself into All-American at the University of Buffalo, and then in one of the best defensive ends. A great locker room guy. So it's not just like the Raiders are just going back to this, man, the Raiders image and everything. No. They let some good guys go out the door, decided we're not going to pay them, and they allowed these other guys to come and say, yes, you are a part of the Raider family.
But didn't they say they wanted to build a foundation with high-character guys? I mean, why do you go out and do this, especially a guy like Incognito who first said he was retiring back in 2017, and now that he wants to play again? Why, if you're the Raiders, would you even give an opportunity like this at this point?
That's one thing that's been consistent with John Gruden, because I believe that John Gruden right now is better at doing media than he is at putting a team together. He hadn't been in the NFL locker room in 10 years, and I know guys that played for John Gruden before, and he tries to act like a disciplinarian in the press conference, but he doesn't run a tight ship like that. So the messaging points are not consistent, and it's just hard to build a championship atmosphere with that type of inconsistency. And I'll just say this for Al Davis. Al Davis will pick you up on the side of the road. I don't care what you have done. You could have committed a crime. You could have all kinds of things. But for the Raiders, they were good players. They weren't bad players. Al Davis wasn't just picking up guys with questionable character who couldn't play. No, he had a bunch of renegades, but they were good at playing football. And they weren't the most penalized teams all those years.
And they, again, it is one thing to recognize it's pro football. It's not professional tennis, and you're going to have more guys that are a little. You maybe wouldn't have them babysit your kids, but I really do believe the Raiders have the top 2 draft picks of crazy. And I don't, and you didn't have to. And I don't understand it. And you're right. Vontez Perfect, Richie Incognito, that's coming at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who's breaking it up.
Oh, it's going down.
I mean, you got tough guys on a football team. I don't know who wants to step between those 2 guys.
Coming up, is Kawhi Leonard the best player in the finals? That's next on First Things First. Welcome back to First Things First. It's time for Planning for Pebbles, sponsored by Beard. Celebrating 100 years of financial partnerships, and Tiger is back in action this week at Jack Nicklaus's tournament in Columbus, where Tiger has won 5 times. Jack says Tiger will probably break his major record of 18 and said he considered Tiger the favorite at Pebble Beach.
Ooh, I like hearing that from the Golden Bear.
Are we going to see Tiger win number 16 at Pebble?
Well, Pebble Beach is going to be tough. All right, he does like Pebble Beach. It's really important how well he plays this week at Muirfield. He's won there, I think, 5 times. The weather is a little off and on. It's going to be a little. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure because Tiger's a little bit older. He got to get that back loosened up. So don't like him in the cold. If he's healthy, I do believe that he can get to that number because it's about driving the golf ball, and he drove the golf ball at the Masters as well as you can do it. He'll be back in contention at the U.S. Open, Nick.
And I want to know what the real number Tiger is behind Jack, because they brought something up very interesting.
Oh, the U.S.
PGA,
Amateur. Oh, yeah.
Which is when Jack won his 18th professional major.
So
all
true.
the news reports were Jack Nicklaus wins his 20th major because they counted his 2 amateurs.
Yes.
Well, Tiger has 3 amateurs. And so if we're doing the math we were doing back then.
As soon as Tiger started winning those amateurs, though, they stopped counting. They moved Jack back to 18.
So by one count, it's 18 for Jack, 15 for Tiger. By the count we were used to use, it's 20 for Jack, 18 for Tiger, and he's only 2 behind. Well, I mean, it's just, listen, people like to change the math. Remember?
Dusty's not necessarily the country club type.
Just like he did.
I know he looks like a high roller, but nah.
Time for some stories to start your morning, brought to you by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. Kyrie Irving is trying to figure out where he wants to be playing next season. According to a report, Kobe Bryant is recruiting the point guard to come to the Lakers. Nick, think Kobe can sway Kyrie?
Told you I always liked Kobe, CC. Always got a soft spot in my heart for the Black Mamba.
You're always good for a nice little lie.
Listen, this is Kyrie. The player Kyrie most admired is Kobe. The player Kyrie modeled his game after, not the ball handling, but almost everything else, is Kobe. And I do think Kyrie and LeBron more than reconciled. They've now spent some time together. LeBron is obviously trying to recruit him. Kobe's trying to recruit him. Can they overcome the fact that I believe his father, Drederick, who is the closest person in his life, wants him in the Northeast either with the Knicks or the Nets? But this helps, and there's a good job by Kobe Bryant.
It does, but if Kobe Bryant was talking to any of the free agents, I prefer he saved that conversation he had with Kyrie. I know Kyrie looks up to him, know he can have influence on Kyrie. Only talk to Kawhi.
Kawhi also looked up to Kobe.
Yeah, okay, like talk to Kawhi.
Maybe you can talk
first.
to both. Maybe talk to both. See, get his hands in multiple pots.
Uncle Dennis, get on that, man.
There's an order. There's an order. KD has been ruled out for Game 1 of the finals, but he traveled with the team to Toronto. CC, any chance we see KD in Game 2?
I don't think we're going to see KD Sunday in Game number 2 in Toronto. He has not returned to any type of activity, any type of movement. He has not run. Not one step. So there's a process to these injuries. Typically, they return to activity. Then they return to being on the court. Team activities, neither one of those things have taken place yet. So I would be shocked if Kevin Durant plays any basketball anymore in the finals. It's been 3 weeks today since he injured himself. And they said at the beginning it was a 4 to 6 week injury.
I'm not going to go quite as far as you yet.
Yeah, because you're not a doctor.
Saying that, well, neither are you, but you have suffered this injury. But to say that I'd be shocked if he plays in the finals. But I would be shocked if he plays in these first 2 games. He's out for Game 1. I wouldn't read too much into him traveling with the team for Game 2. I can't rule him out for the finals yet, but I can rule him out for Games 1 and 2.
Moving on, Klay Thompson has been a bit of an unsung hero for the Warriors this postseason. Steve Kerr called him the best two-way guard in the league. Nick, do you agree?
I do, and I'm trying to think because when he says two-way, you're obviously giving defense, if not close to equal importance to the offense. who else is in contention there? Russell Westbrook has a lot of steals, but is actually not a good defensive player.
No.
Kyrie's obviously not a good defensive player. Harden's become an underrated defender, but is not Klay Thompson. Steph maybe has become an underrated defender, but he's not Klay Thompson. So Bradley Beal is in the discussion?
Bradley Beal and Ben Simmons.
Oh, so Ben Simmons is a better defender than Klay Thompson, but he is not the offensive player nearly that Klay is. So, yeah, to me, it's Klay.
Yeah, and Ben was a good defender until they put the claw on him. But Coach got it right because they're guards. Right. Our best defenders in the league happen to be wing players and our forwards, starting with Giannis and Kawhi being right there, and then Paul George right behind him.
I'm going to add one other name that we haven't mentioned. Victor Oladipo probably.
Oh, yeah,
his
absolutely.
name would have been in this discussion before he got hurt.
Yes.
Time now for Nick
I think you had some help on that one upstairs.
Man. No help.
Steph Curry had a remarkable run against the Blazers, scoring over 35 points per game in the sweep, but is he the best player in the finals? Nick, I'm excited for this. Why don't you make a list?
Oh, I don't mind if I do. And now I'm going to, listen, we're going to, for the purposes of this list.
Second. Slow down with the enthusiasm.
I'm excited.
I don't like these lists, okay?
When Nick is making a list.
Nick be doing a list every show if he could, all right? Yes. I don't know why they broke it out with you being here because they knew I was going to get upset.
I was lobbying
Go on with you.
I was lobbying.
Yesterday, I almost made an impromptu list of best cities in North America. Today, we will do best players in the NBA Finals. Number 7, a Finals MVP, Andre Iguodala. If he makes threes, they will not lose. Now, they can win if he doesn't make threes, but they cannot lose if he does. And his ability to guard Kawhi at times is going to be key. Andre Iguodala, number 7.
I worry about his health. I also worry about him getting into foul trouble guarding Kawhi.
Absolutely. And we know the Warriors, even though they've been playing more people, there's really only 6 guys on the team they currently trust. Number 6, Kyle Lowry. Biggest moment of his career, coming off one of the best. We're talking about two-way guards. He was great defensively in the previous round. Kyle Lowry, having gotten over the hump, finally playing in an NBA Finals. Excited to see him in this series.
Kawhi talked about how important he was as a teammate, bringing him up to speed on the system, making him comfortable. If Kawhi is going to be the MVP of this finals, Kyle Lowry is going to be just as dependable in this series.
Well, and if Kawhi does bring the ball up the court and they trap him some, the safety valve will be Kyle Lowry and seeing how he can orchestrate things. Number 5, Klay Thompson, an embarrassment of riches for the Golden State Warriors that Klay, the second greatest shooter maybe of all time, one of the most clutch shooters we've ever seen, could be number 5. But we know what he can do. We just talked about him as the best two-way player, and this was my hardest ranking. Do I put Klay 5 and this guy 4 or vice versa? Number 4, Draymond Green. Draymond Green, you could argue, is even higher on the list of importance, but best players, coming off one of his best series he's ever had, playing the best basketball of his season since KD went down.
2 of our keys to winning this series for Toronto, I had to get with Sarah and get her tips. They got to rebound the basketball, that being Toronto, and they got to control the pace of the game. Draymond Green plays a big role in that.
Number 3, Kevin Durant. I understand we don't know if he's going to play, but we can't leave him off the list entirely because he was playing at a level where he would be number 1 had he not gotten hurt when he was averaging 39, 5, and 5. But if he comes back, you would assume he's not going to be 100%.
I totally disagree with you. I would take him off the list. It's been 3 weeks from today that he injured it. It took the doctors 2 weeks to be able to find this calf.
Can we put a little asterisk at the bottom of this list?
He's so skinny and everything. It took him 2 weeks. So now they've determined it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks since we discovered it.
All right, so Kevin Durant, assuming he plays at some point, now here's where you're going to take the real issue. Number 2, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has been spectacular. He has been, up to this point, the best player of these playoffs, but I'm slotting Steph Curry. Number 2 is Kawhi Leonard, and I'm going to slot Steph Curry at number 1. We haven't given our picks yet. We'll do that tomorrow, but I have a sneaking suspicion this series, without Kevin Durant, with a chance to potentially win his 4th championship, maybe in Game 6, the final game ever at Oracle, could be a crowning achievement of Steph Curry's career. I think he's going to be the best player in these NBA Finals.
Remember Kawhi was at the press conference or something, and they caught his laugh, and everyone was just, that's what I wish we were playing on the show right now. Kawhi's laugh.
Laughing at me not having him number 1.
Absolutely.
Why does it say that there's only 2 Raptors?
Well, that's a problem. is that there's only 2 Raptors. Even if we cross out Kevin Durant, I would think most people would agree of the top 6 players in this series, 4 of them are Golden State
And you've
Warriors.
done 4 or 5 months of talking about Siakam this, Siakam this, Siakam this.
Yep.
Then when you make a list, you leave your guy off the list.
Well, I didn't know where I was going to put him. I thought Siakam
You
versus
had a
Andre Iguodala.
15-point list yesterday.
The greatest 14 players in NBA history.
He
Correct.
always has these
But we
dumb
don't-
numbers. He could have
I
made
think
it
we could've
9
added
people.
more.
He
Added
could
more.
have. He could have had it 8. Then you could have had him on there. Like
This is a good list. I like it.
7. Why'd you have 7? It's number completion or what? Like no.
It's
you're
just what
you're just smart for no
resonated
good.
with me, man.
All right.
14 though, it's
you're just
important.
a waste
14 greatest
of
players in NBA
IQ.
history.
Good stuff coming up. Could Boogie Cousins be a major factor in the Boogie didn't make the list.
No.
That's next on First Things
Hey,
First.
do you see what this thing is called? Nick makes a list. Not CC makes a list. You make your own damn list. You can have even numbers. You can have whatever.
FS1 is your destination for the day's best sports shows. Tune in for the biggest personalities on the biggest stories. Of course, we get you started right here on First Things First. You can catch it all Monday through Friday on FS1.
Watch Nick. He's on the herd with his mentor, Colin Cowherd, with them
12:30.
stale takes.
12:30 Eastern
Pops
today.
on that.
Me and Cowherd.
Cowherd, you better leave the Browns alone.
Back here with Antoine
You're going to
Walker.
have problems.
We're talking Demarcus Cousins. He went down early in the postseason with a torn quad and is questionable for Game 1 of the Finals. Boogie is still hoping to get on the floor to help bring home a title for Golden State. Cousins says, "I'm not a quitter. It's going to take a lot for me to fall. It's going to take an Army and a Navy. I'm just going to go down fighting. Been working my tail off to get to this point, but I am healthy enough." Antoine, how should the Warriors use Cousins if he is, in fact, ready to go and healthy?
This is going to be tough because their best 5 obviously is the Hampton 5 when they play small, and they've shown that throughout the playoffs. And Kevin Looney is playing great basketball. He's just coming off a great Western Conference series where he shot 78% from the field. And to be able to incorporate a guy like Demarcus Cousins, it's going to be very difficult to do. I don't think offensively, I just think defensively. For a team that's not great defensively, you're going to have to be able to guard. And if Marc Gasol is not on the floor, I don't see how Cousins is going to be able to play. And Marc Gasol is a guy that plays 30-plus minutes for Toronto. I don't think they're going to be able to play him 30-plus minutes against Golden State. So I don't see a lot of opportunity right now on the floor for Boogie Cousins. And I know Steve Kerr wants to, do right by the guy and hopefully, get him out there, make him really feel a part of this championship run. But the best lineup for Golden State is to play small, play their Hampton 5, and you have to find a way to keep Kevin Looney in there because he's becoming really, really good for this team.
Antoine, what was the first year for you, the first team of your career when you're at the latter stages, when you went from featured guy starting to role player off the bench? Do you remember when that was?
That was when I signed with the Miami Heat. And I got the phone call, sat in with Stan, and he was like, "Listen, we're going to bring you off the bench."
Right from the beginning.
From the beginning, from the start. UD's going to start. If you want to come off the bench, I can run plays for you. If you want to start, you will be a third option, maybe 4 if I'm going to Shaq and D-Wade, and that's it. And if you want, and so I was like, listen, I'd rather come off the bench, be something new in my career and try it out.
Even though you knew it was coming, that initial first few weeks of the season, was it
terrible for me. Because I was 9 seasons and I was averaging 20 and 10. I'd never done that before in my life.
Yep.
I had to get my body adjusted to coming off the bench. When you come off the bench, you got to be ready to go. And you got to be able to take on whatever situation what's in front of you. The team could be up 10 and you want to maintain the lead. You could be down 10 and you need an offensive boost. So I had to learn how to play in those type of situations. I was so glad when Pat Riley came back because he put me back in the starting lineup. He would sub me early, but he still put me back in the starting lineup. So it's very difficult to do. And with the injury that Boogie Cousins has, he might have to think about that. I mean, is he going to be able to start and go?
Yeah.
Stop and go like that?
Well, that's why I asked. Since Boogie Cousins, after his rookie year, he's played 486 games. He started 483 of them. With the Warriors, if we just remove the game he got hurt, because he played a couple minutes, played 31 full games with the Warriors, played at least 20 minutes in 27 of those games. So only 4 times he didn't, and 2 of those times were Warrior wins by 35-plus points where nobody played big minutes. 26 of those 31 games, he took at least 10 shots. So even with the Warriors, the first team he's ever been on where he wasn't either 1 or 1A for the offense, because he was always 1 with Sacramento, became 1A with New Orleans. With the Warriors, even there, where he was like the 3rd or 4th option, he's still getting a dozen shots a game most games. he was still starting every game he played with Golden State, playing 20 minutes plus nearly every game. He's going to be able to make that adjustment in the biggest games of his career against one of the toughest opponents. To me, that is an enormous ask for a fully healthy Boogie Cousins, much less a guy who's coming off 2 now major injuries.
2 major injuries. Also, the biggest summer that he's faced, because he will be a free agent again. We've all been watching, and we know the regular season is at a certain level of intensity. First round is at a certain level of intensity. That second round, it gets ratcheted way, way up. And now we're in the conference final. Is this the assignment that I want to give Boogie Cousins?
Past the conference final, to the NBA
finals. The NBA finals. Is this the assignment I want to give him? The biggest stage he's ever been at, I want you to play a role that you've never played. I don't think Boogie Cousins has the mental wherewithal, and I don't think physically he's healthy enough that in those 8 to 15 minutes, I just need you to play defense, grab rebounds. I don't need you to be concerned. So I believe that the chemistry, it can be altered with him coming in. The thing that I'm worried about the most is the referees. We haven't heard anything the last 2 rounds. The reason why is because the players, Draymond Green, and others in the NBA, the guys stopped complaining. They stopped attacking the referees and realizing that, man, that we need these guys to build try. We don't need the referees against us. Yesterday they announced who the refs are. Scott Foster, of course, he's going to be reffing a couple of these games. So if I bring Boogie in, do I bring the refs back in? That now I got to beat the guys on the court and I still got to beat the refs. I believe that's a real thing if Boogie Cousins is activated.
I think Steve Kerr is saying questionable because in the 9 days they had off, I guarantee you they haven't played 5-on-5 basketball. I guarantee you he didn't want to put Steph and Clay and Draymond through 5-on-5 where you can really take a look at Demarcus and see how he really is. He's playing against a couple guys, the 12th and 13th guy, and a couple coaches.
Yep.
It's hard to make that assessment to figure if he can be able to help you. But I understand why he's thinking about it because he's a guy, you're talking about an all-star, he may be able to give you a little something, but he only can be on the floor, to me, if Marc Gasol's on the floor. And if Marc Gasol's not on the floor, which I don't think he's going to be able to play a lot in this series, Boogie Cousins can't help you out in this series.
How do you think this could potentially impact his free agency?
He's got to get healthy. I mean, you look at last year, and he talked about it, that he didn't get a lot of offers, and, you know, he went out and called some teams himself. I think he proved to everybody that he was, before this injury, that he was back and he could play at a very, very high level again. I think he has to be very smart. I think he has to understand what the market value is going to be for him. It may not be a 2-3 year deal right now. He may have to take another 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. But in a situation where he's going to get an opportunity to play 30 minutes tonight and show that he can get back to that. So he just got to get the money aspect out of it and think about the team and the situation he wants to be in. And it may be going back to Golden State. They may can bring him back.
One enormous edge the Warriors have in these finals is the entirety of their roster essentially has played in games at this level. Like, who are we talking about that's going to play real minutes for Golden State? This is going to be their first trip to the NBA Finals. Like, nobody that's in their top 7 of their rotation, except for Boogie. Boogie, you mentioned how it gets ratcheted up each round. Mm-hmm. He had never played in a playoff game before this year. He was in the argument for greatest players in NBA history to never play in a playoff game. He didn't get a lot of playoff experience. He got a game and a fraction of a quarter, and that was first round against the Clippers. And so for him to be thrown into this, it would be unlike almost any situation in NBA history. There are not guys who their first real playoff experience is the NBA Finals. That doesn't happen in the NBA. And so you'd be asking a lot of a perfectly healthy player. Ask a guy coming off an injury to take a role he's never had, in a spotlight he's never had, against an intensity level he's never had to play at. That's an enormous ask for the Warriors, even though I'm sure in a vacuum we need rebounding. We might need a little offensive punch with our second unit. Yep. I get why it could theoretically make sense. I don't know if practically it does.
All right, coming up. Stick around. This is going to get good. No more finals talk. We're back to the Lakers, of course. Will the dysfunction around the organization keep them from landing a marquee free agent? That's next on First Things First. Back to the destructive article that came out yesterday describing the Lakers' dysfunction in detail. Among the accusations, Magic Johnson was described as a bully. GM Rob Pelinka doesn't always seem to tell the truth. And LeBron's agent, Rich Paul, was described as a culture killer, advocating for Luke Walton to be gone as early as November of last season. Antoine, who is to blame for the Lakers' dysfunction?
Well, you got to start up top. Obviously, you got to start with Jenny. She's probably the first person you want to start with. I'd say she takes 50% of it, and then Magic takes the other 50%. I think, one, she did a terrific job in hiring Magic Johnson, somebody she believed and trusted in, she put her faith in, and she did a good job. But you can't hire Magic Johnson, a guy who's a great businessman, who's built his empire to $600 million and what he says, to not give him full control. And obviously, he did not have full control of this team. Not being able to pick his coach and bring his coach in, not being able to hire and fire the people that he wanted to hire and fire. She held tight on some people and questioned some moves when he wanted to get rid of them. But when you give a guy like Magic Johnson total control, you got to believe that he knows he's doing the right thing. And obviously, he showed you that when he was able to land the best player in the world in LeBron James. You had to sit back and trust him. And he was going to build it. He had an idea and a plan to build this thing up to get the team back to championship level. And she was not willing to part ways in her friendship with different people in the organization, whether that was friends, whether that was the Ramses. Obviously, Rob Pelinka, for some odd reason, has a hold on her. Maybe it got something to do with Kobe. You never know what's going on with that. But if you're going to give it to Magic, you got to give him full control and let him go in there and pick his own staff. The only mistake I thought Magic really made, I thought when he took over the job, he should have hired his own staff. Whether that's the head coach, the scouts, his brain trust, the people that he was going to believe in, even if he had to take Rob Pelinka. Everybody else around me would have been my guys that I trust, especially if I know I was not going to be in the office every day and not be able to police things on every day. That staff would have been all my guys that I trust to go out and scout for me, do all my going to colleges, overseas, the things that's needed on a day-to-day basis. I would have had that in place, and along with the coach.
Yeah, Jeannie Buss has to take a lot of the blame for it because she's the owner of the team, and she hired and appointed these people. She hired Rob Pelinka. She hired Magic Johnson. It was never going to be a relationship that was going to work. So who's going to take responsibility for that? The person who hired them should have done that. Magic Johnson never had a chance because he never had realistic expectations. What Magic was trying to accomplish in doing that part-time, they just don't go together. Now, you're right. He should have hired his own staff from the beginning, someone who would know. Like, you need a certain agreement so that you know in this partnership, this is exactly what I'm going to do so we can get realistic expectations. Because if you expect me to be here 10 or 12 hours and I'm not there, there is a certain amount of disappointment in doing that. So that was not clear, and Jeannie Buss should have been able to clear that up from the beginning. But the Lakers, there's been one constant through this last 6 years where them and the Knicks, they have lost the same number of games as the New York Knicks. Worst franchises in the NBA.
Most in basketball.
Yes. So who's been the consistent in that? That's been the owner. She was there before, she was there during, and she's one of the few there after. So to me, the buck stops right with her. And to me, it's not going to get any better anytime soon because she's extended all of her relationships. I mean, Magic Johnson, all right, he's running basketball operations. Kobe Bryant's agent is the general manager. I got Linda Rambis. I'm sending information to her, seeing if she likes it. Her husband's working. They want him to be on the staff. I got Jason Kidd, who potentially can be the coach of the next time. It's a mess, and it's not going to get any better. Free agency, to me, Nick, is not unless they pulled an upset and Kawhi went there, or they were able to pull off the Anthony Davis trade. To me, this is just the beginning of LeBron James ending his career with regret, choosing the Los Angeles Lakers.
I just can't believe that the Lakers are finding themselves on today's date, what's it, May 29th? Find themselves here when on April 9th, Magic gave them an escape route. there's a downside to hiring legends. One day you sometimes got to fire a legend. And so there's the downside to hiring Magic and then learning, wait, he and Rob don't seem to work well together. They don't like each other. As an added downside, Magic seems to have a somewhat archaic view of how to build a basketball team by going after the Lance Stephensons, Michael Beasleys of the world. But can you fire Magic? Can you fire the greatest Laker ever? Don't need to. He walks out the door. Walks out. Rob Pelinka is a guy that clearly, as you said in the lead-in, has a reputation not just from other agents, but of being a little duplicitous, not necessarily always shooting straight with you. And so even if Kobe's got a great relationship with him, doesn't mean everyone does. And Magic gave you the opportunity to have a hard reset. The moment they decided we are not taking that opportunity, then what you must do is get in front of a camera and say, I love Magic like a brother, but as president of the Lakers, he was the problem. Rob Pelinka's the solution. Rob is our guy. Who drafted, even if it's lies, who drafted Kyle Kuzma? Rob.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Who found
Absolutely.
the things we've done right were Rob. The things we did poorly were Magic. Rob is here 18 hours a day. Magic was here 18 minutes a day. Whatever you got to do. That's the cost of doing business. The reason you don't always do business with friends and family is sometimes you got to do cutthroat business things. But instead, to have Magic walk away, to never get in front of a camera, to have a botched coaching search and just say, we're not filling the position. And what you allow is in the void, these stories. In the void, these leaks. You have a story that to me was the primary sources were coaches who were angry they got fired, former members of Luke Walton's staff, because Luke Walton didn't get a hair of criticism in this article, and even if he wasn't the biggest part of the problem, he wasn't part of the solution either, and agents and other executives that have an axe to grind either with Rich Paul or they just want to see the Lakers fail. The Lakers have been dancing through the raindrops for the entirety of their history. Like, oh, could they hit a downside? Oh, wait, Shaquille O'Neal wants to sign there. Like, Kobe's era is going to end poorly. Oh, how about Powell just comes over for his brother, who at the time nobody knew what he was going to be. People have been waiting for the Lakers to fail for a long time. So, of course, now that they're vulnerable, they're going to pick at them, they're going to leak things, they're going to do all these things. It is Jeannie Buss's job to stem that. And there is an element to me of almost the way she has been covered in this of what I would call almost a reverse sexism, which was I think she was initially treated with kid gloves by the media in a way her brothers wouldn't have been because, understandably, I think most progressive-minded people, fair-minded people were very happy to see a woman be in this position of power in major American sports leadership ownership. We hadn't really seen that. But now you have to remove that, anything from it, say man, woman, whatever. Are you doing a good job? Are you equipped for this job? And Jeannie Buss has given no indication that she is. And the fact that Linda Rambis is the shadow owner of this team, like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, all the dirty laundry is being aired out, and we continue to see that. But Antoine, from your perspective, where do the Lakers go from here? I mean, we can point to Jeannie Buss and say about ownership, but she also has the final say in a lot of things that are happening. What do you think the Lakers can do now at this point?
Well, they got to get in the free agency and try to land some, another talented player to play alongside LeBron James, and also try to figure out what are you going to do with these young guys. You got some talent there. You don't have to. And eventually, we got to stop calling them young guys because they're starting to get to their third, fourth year. So these guys can play. So you're going to eventually. Do you believe in this core guys that you brought in, that you drafted to get you over the hump to play with LeBron James? You have to make that decision. Obviously, you're going to go after the best free agents that's out there. It's still LA. Let's understand that. And you still have LeBron James on the team. So it's still a lot of value in the team. It's just a matter of who you go out there and who you can, get to come aboard. I don't think players look at what's going on in the front office. I think players look at more situations where how much money they can make, what's the situation going to be for them on the court, off the court. I don't think they look at everything that's going on up top. I mean, it plays a little part, but I don't think it plays the big enough part for them not to want to go to L.A. L.A. is still L.A. and it's still one of the best free agency destinations.
And if they don't get a free agent this summer, they screwed up 2 seasons because they punted a bit on last year to keep the cap space open for this year. They weren't going to get a superstar alongside LeBron, but they could have gotten better complementary pieces, maybe hit the side of the bracket that Portland hit, make a run in the playoffs. Instead, they punted somewhat. They thought they'd make the playoffs, so they punted on 19 in order to go after it in 20. They might, if they miss, they've punted on 2 years.
Free agency is going to be fun. Antoine, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate it. Coming up is Kawhi, the best player in the finals. That's next on First Things First.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.